Hello students, welcome to today's chemistry session. So we are in the chapter structure of an atom and we are almost at the end of the chapter. In today's class, let us finish this chapter. So we were in the topic that is shapes of the atomic orbitals, talking about s, p and d orbitals, where s is said to be spherical in shape, the s orbital is spherical in shape, the p orbitals will have a dumbbell shape and the d orbitals will have a double shape. So that was what we were studying, and also about the nodes, the two types of nodes. One is angular and radial nodes, by which you can use a formula and find out the number of nodes present in a particular orbital. So this is what we were studying in the last class. Let us move on to the next topic, which is the energies of the orbitals. Now, what happens to the energies, or what is the reason behind the energy level diagram which we draw for the multi-electron systems? Now, let me come to it. Now, imagine you have a hydrogen atom. Okay, hydrogen atom consists only one electron. Now, this one electron which is present in 1s orbital, how do you write the electronic configuration? You write it as 1s1, right? So, in s subshell there is one electron. So, in that particular s orbital you have one electron which is tightly bound to the nucleus. So, this s orbital is actually close to the nucleus, right? There is force of attraction between the positive charge in the nucleus and the electron which is present in this orbital. So, there is force of attraction and this s orbital is said to be very close to the nucleus. So, stability is said to be more when you talk about how close it is to the nucleus in an atom. Then the stability is said to be more, right? Now, if you compare it with the energies of different shells. Now, talking about oneness will have very less energy as they try attaining the stability. When they reach to the nucleus, they have less energy. And then, if you're talking about the second shell, 2s and 2p orbitals will have same energy, right? Because they come in one particular principal quantum number. So, in hydrogen atom, energy depends only on the principal quantum number, which is nothing but n. Because there is only one electron. So, there is no problem with, if we have many electrons, then the energies may change. Let me come to it. But talking about hydrogen, which has only one electron, this means that the energy depends on n, which is nothing but the principal quantum number. So, if it is in the first shell, then 1s will have the least energy. Then you have 2s and 2p orbitals will have equal energy. Talking about the third shell, main principal quantum number, n is equal to 3. Then all these will have same energy. In the same way, 4s will be equal to 4p, then will be equal to 4d, that is equal to 4s. So, these all orbitals will have same energy. So, in hydrogen atom, if it contains one electron, then the energy, it all depends on the principal quantum number. So, that is what it says. Now, orbitals having same energy are called degenerate orbitals. Degenerate. If all of the orbitals, now if you're talking about the the third shell, energy level 3, then all these orbitals are having same energy, right? That is why these together are called degenerate. If you're talking about energy level 4, that means all these have same energy, and that's why they are called degenerate. So, in this way, the orbitals which have same energy are called degenerate orbitals. Just remember this term, degenerate. Now, you know that as hydrogen contains only one electron, right? Here it will be in the most stable state, that is 1s1, which is close to the nucleus. Now, suppose this electron, okay, if it absorbs energy, okay, if any extra energy is given to it, what does it do? It absorbs energy and it goes to the higher energy level, right? So, this is what we studied. If it is 1s1, suppose if it absorbs energy and goes to 2s1, imagine 2s. Now, what happens here? This has lost its stability and it is going to the next energy level, which is a higher energy level. So, the electron which is present in its most stable state or its own state is called the ground state. Ground state of the electron. Okay, they are very stable. They are said to be very stable. But if you are talking about the electron which has absorbed energy and moved to a higher energy state, that means they are excited, right? or they are very unstable. They can't, attain stability right now. So what do we call them? We call them as excited state. So electrons can absorb energy and go to the excited state. Its own stable energy is called the ground state. So these are some of the terms which are to be remembered when you are talking about the energy of the electrons. Now, so this was for hydrogen atom where an electron is only one. Now, if we are talking about multi-electron systems wherein there are many electrons, it is not just one electron if it is more than one electrons. Now, what happens to the energy of each orbital? Let us see that. Now, in multi-electron system, energy depends on the principal quantum number and also the azimuthal quantum number, which means that L is equal to nothing but the subshells. Depending on S, P, D, different subshells will have different energies. It's not like hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen, as you can see, in a particular energy level, they all will have same energy, right? But when you're talking about multi-electron system, there is not only one electron, there are more electrons which are present, and the energy depends on the principal quantum number, which is nothing but the energy level also, and then the azimuthal quantum number, which is the subshell. So it depends on S, P, D. Which subshell are you talking about? So they depend on both of these terms. Now, if S, P, D, F in a given shell will have different energies. That is what I was telling. So depending on their shapes and depending on how the electrons are oriented in particular these subshells, the energies will depend on those terms. So that is what this line says. So energy depends on the principal quantum number too and also the azimuthal quantum number. Now, as you all know, when you are talking about multi-electron system, there are many electrons which are spread across the atom. Now, you know that the nucleus has a positive charge and there is a strong force of attraction by the nucleus towards the electrons. So the electrons are attracted, right? So we say there is force of attraction between the nucleus as well as the electrons present in the shells. Now, if you are talking about the force of attraction, it was just, there was only one force of attraction for hydrogen atom. But if you are talking about multi-electrons, many electrons, then first case is that there is force of attraction too, and also there is mutual repulsion between these electrons. If there is only one electron, it is attracted to the nucleus, no problem. But if you are talking about many electrons which are present, that means these have a force of attraction towards the nucleus and also there is force of repulsion between these electrons. The electrons which are present inside the atom, okay, they are present in different shells and there is repulsion too. But when you are talking about the stability, the mutual repulsion is actually cancelled out. It doesn't affect the amount of how much there is force of attraction. So repulsion is said to be very less when compared to the force of attraction. So we don't count it. But you remember that in multi-electron system there is force of attraction and also there is mutual repulsion of electron with other electrons. Okay, but in hydrogen atom there is only force of attraction by the nucleus. Now, attraction of electrons increases with the increase in the positive charge. Increase in the positive charge in the sense in the nucleus, if you keep on adding protons, that means there is high increase in positive charge. So what happens here? Attraction will be more, right? So what happens to the repulsion? Then there is no problem. So as the atomic number increases, or as a positive charge present in the nucleus increases, then what happens to the force of attraction? There is more force of attraction. So that is what we say. Attraction of electrons increases with the increase in the positive charge present in the nucleus. Okay. So this is what is to be remembered in multi-electron system. So as I said, these S, P, D, F subshells will have different energies. It is not like you have for hydrogen atom. Got it? Now, why do these S, P, D, F have different energies? Why should that happen? As I told, they, in multi-electron system, there is force of attraction mainly. So, this force of attraction is nothing but the effective nuclear charge, right? Now, if you start writing the electronic configuration, you see that, when you start writing 1s2, 2s2, then 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s comes, then 3d comes, right? So here first you see 4s coming up and then there is 3d. Now or the way of writing this energy level actually depends on the force of attraction of the nucleus towards electrons. Okay, that is nothing but the effective nuclear charge, and also there is some other term which is being happening here, that is shielding effect or screening. Now what do you mean by the shielding effect? I have told it in the first chapter. What is happening here? When the electrons try attracting the nucleus, there is the inner electrons which are protecting them not from attracting the nucleus. You know, there are inner electrons, so they are shielding. So what happens to the force of attraction? It decreases. So inner electrons are strongly attracted to the nucleus, whereas the outer electrons, they will be far away. So what happens to the energy too? They keep on increasing. So if you see here, you know, 3s, if you see, when you compare it to 3p, 3s is acting like an inner electron, which, you know, prevents the 3p from attracting the nucleus. So what happens to the force of attraction of 3p electrons? What happens there? It decreases. So inner electrons will be more attracted towards the nucleus. So that is what shielding effect means. Presence of inner electrons makes the outer electrons less attractive towards the nucleus. That is one of the reasons, in order that they have different energies. Okay, why S, P, D, F, they have different energies. Mainly one is due to the shielding effect and also due to the effective nuclear charge. Okay, what is effective nuclear charge? That is nothing but the positive charge which is experienced by the attraction of these outer electrons to the nucleus. So this is one. And effective nuclear charge in the sense the total or the net positive charge. Okay, the total positive charge which is acquired by the nucleus by the outer electron. So this is given as Z effective. Z effective. So effective nuclear charge is the term. So these two are the main reasons by which there is different energies for each of the substance in multi-electron system. So the energy is actually the s orbital will have less energy when compared to p. So p orbital will have less energy when compared to d orbital. So in this way, the shielding effect and effective nuclear charge can vary the energy of these substances. So that's why we write first 1s will be having lower energy, right? Then you have 2s. Then 2p which is having still more higher energy. So in hydrogen you used to write it like this, 2s is equal to 2p. So they will have almost equal energies. But in the case of multi-electron system, what happens is, because of these two effects, the energies will vary, and 1s will have less energy when compared to 2s, 2s will have less energy when compared to 2p, then 3s, then 3p, and so on. So this is the main reason of energies of the orbitals in the multi-electron system. So as the extent of shielding is different for different orbitals, okay, or different electrons present in orbitals, what happens? There is splitting of these energy levels. Why is it? Once again, as the extent of shielding is different, okay, for the electrons in different orbitals. This is the main thing which is to be understood here. As extent of shielding is different for different electrons present in the orbitals, there is splitting of energy levels, and that is why it won't be equal like for how you have in the hydrogen atom. So here, first will be 1s, then 2s will have more energy when compared to 1s, then 2p, then 3s, and so on. So this is how the energy level diagram is written, or you remember how to write the electronic configuration. As I told, there is diagonal rule. So depending on this, or the extent of shielding of different electrons, the energy level diagrams are given. So this is about the energies of the atomic orbitals. Now energies, you can actually compare it by another form, that is by n plus L rule. Okay. Now n plus L, n is nothing but the principal quantum number and L is nothing but the azimuthal quantum number or the subshell which they belong to. Now if you take an example of 3p, 3 is the principal quantum number, and p in the sense, what is L there? L has to be 1, right? So S will have 0, P will have 1, D will have 2, and F will have 3, and so on. So this is how you write L for different subshells. Now here 3p is given. 3p in the sense, it is 3 plus p is 1. So you will have 4 as the answer. Then 3s is given. So 3 plus 0 will give 3. Then 3d is 3 plus 2 will be 5. Now if you see here, which has the least number? 3. Then comes 4. Then comes 5. So depending on these values, you can actually say which orbital has less energy, which orbital has higher energy. So here the least value is given by ES. So 3s orbital has less energy. Then you have 3p. Then you have 3d. Now suppose sometimes when you calculate this n plus l values, you may get the same values, okay, or the same numbers. That time what do? Now 2p if you check and 3s if you check, here 2p is nothing but 2 plus 1 gives 3 and 3s is 3 plus 0 gives 3. Now both have the same values over here. Then what do? How would you select which orbital has less energy? The one with the less value of n. N is what? Principal quantum number. So which is the least value over here when you compare it is 2. When you compare it to 3. So this will have less energy when compared to 3s. So in this way also you can find out the energies of different orbitals. So the main reason is due to the shielding effect and effective nuclear charge. So based on the shielding effect, the energies will split into different levels, and that is how you come to know the energies of different orbitals. Okay, so let us see how the filling of the electrons in different orbitals is done right now. We have already studied writing the electronic configuration in the previous chapter, but let us see how exactly and what is the rules to be followed when we actually fill the electrons inside the orbitals. Now, filling of orbitals in an atom. First of all, there are 3 principles which is to be followed, or the rules to be followed, which are given by different scientists, okay, which actually determines us, how to fill the electrons in particular orbitals and what is the capacity of electrons and in what orientation should we fill these electrons. So talking about the first one, which is the Aufbau principle, Aufbau. Now that word Aufbau means it is building up, okay. It is actually given in the German, but the meaning is building up. Now building up in the sense, these electrons which is to be filled in different orbitals, okay, it is based on or in the ground state of atoms, okay, as I told, it is a stable state, whichever is the number, and when we write the electronic configuration and that particular state is nothing but ground state which is said to be stable, the orbitals are filled, okay, or the electrons or the orbitals are filled in the increasing order of their energies. Now as you all know, the energy level diagram is given by the diagonal rule. I hope you remember. Okay, so 1s has the lower energy, then comes 2s, then we have 2p, then 3s, 3p, 4s. So you come through a slope downwards. Okay, so you have 4s, then 3d, 4p. After 4s, it comes 3d. Okay, 4s has less energy. So which one are you going to fill first? It should be 4s, and then you go to 3d. So 3d, 4p, 5s, and 4d, 5p, 6s, and so on. So this is how the increasing order of energy is given, and Aufbau principle, the first principle says that whenever you fill electrons in different orbitals, it has to be done in the increasing order of their energies. So if you are filling 1s first, then comes 2s, then comes 2p, then comes 3s, then comes 3p, then comes 4s, and 3d. So in this way it has to be filled, okay, in the increasing order of their energy. So based on energy we are going to fill the electrons in different orbitals. The second one, that is Pauli's exclusion principle. Now what does this rule say? Okay, only 2 electrons may exist in the same orbital, okay, and these electrons should have opposite spin. Now very easy to understand, only 2 electrons may exist in the same orbital. Now let me take an example. Let us take hydrogen as a, no, let me take helium or lithium. Lithium atomic number is 3, right? So how will you write the electronic configuration? 1s2, 2s1. Listen to me properly, 1s2, 2s1. Now 1s2 in the sense, here S contains 3 orbitals and D has 5 orbitals in that way. Now, here Pauli's exclusion principle says that only 2 electrons may exist in the same orbital. That means, how many electrons can we fill in one particular orbital? There can be 2 electrons which we can fill. And these electrons should have opposite spin. I told you there are 2 spins by which it is possible. One is anti-clockwise and then it is clockwise, which is designated as plus half and minus half. Right? So, if it is plus half, we denote the arrows in this way. If it is minus, in this way. So, you can fill only 2 electrons in one orbital with opposite spins. Okay, it should be plus half and the other one should be minus half. So, in this way, filling is being done. How many electrons are possible in one orbital? 2 electrons only. More than 2 you cannot fit in one particular orbital, and these 2 shouldn't be facing. If you would have written it like this is wrong. Okay, this plus half and plus half. No, it shouldn't be like this. It should be with opposite spins. Okay, so the electrons should be written in this way. The spin should be written as plus half and minus half. So that is how you fill the electrons. First of all, how do you fill up the orbitals? That is based on increasing order of energies, and how the electrons are filled, and how many electrons can you fill? You can fill 2 electrons with opposite spins. So that is about the Pauli's exclusion principle. Then you have Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. Now, maximum multiplicity, okay, here only you can make out. Electron pairing electron pairing in the sense here, this is one pair. Now suppose, let me take the example of 2p, okay, 2p, suppose it is 2p, second energy level, and p is the subshell. Now how many orbitals are there here? 3 orbitals are there, p contains 3 orbitals. Now if you have to fill the electrons, okay, now p is maybe 5. How will you do it? Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity says that electron pairing will not take place in the orbitals of same energy. Now this is the orbital of same energy until each orbital is singly filled. This is important here. Until each orbital is singly filled means each orbital should be having one electron first and then you start pairing it. It is not that you first fill 2 electrons, then put 2 electrons, then 2. No, it should be 1, 1, 1 and then you start pairing it. For example, if I have to fill 2p5 here, so I have started from the first orbital, that is 2px, 2py, 2pz. So I put 1 electron in 2px, right? Now do I put it here like this? No, this is the wrong way. Instead, what do? I put the next orbital and make it singly filled. So how many are done now? 1, 2, 3 are done. So the 4th electron should go where? To the first orbital with the opposite spin. How many should be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So 5. Got it? If it is 2p6, then you fill 1 more. So this is how it goes. First, all the orbitals must be singly filled and then you start pairing them. Okay? So this is what Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity says. Okay, so this is how you fill the orbitals. Once again, let me conclude. First, you have the Opper principle which says that the energy levels should go in the increasing order. That's how you write the shells and then subshells. Then you have Pauli's exclusion principle wherein he says in one particular orbital there can be 2 electrons possible with opposite spins. And also the last one says that first, whenever you fill the orbitals with same energy, what do? You fill it one first and then you start pairing. That's why we say it should be singly filled and then you start pairing. So before that you can't pair up the electrons in a particular orbital. So in the first chapter I had told you that the half filled and the fully filled orbitals are said to be very stable in view of the examples. Now let us talk about it. Okay. So the energy stability of half filled and the fully filled orbitals. Now when you are talking about half filled, if it is 3 orbital, then you fill it in this way, right? 1, 2, 3. So that is half. Totally how many electrons can you fill in p orbitals? So totally it can be 3 plus 3 which can be 6. Now it is half filled which is 3. Even when you are talking about fully filled orbitals, all the electrons are being filled in each orbital. So there are 6 electrons which are present, right? Now, why are these said to be highly stable? Why their energies are said to be very stable. Let us look at it. Now, nitrogen, if I have to write it, okay, nitrogen, the atomic number is 7, so the electronic configuration can be written as 1s2, 2s2 and 2p3. Correct? 8 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 2, 7. Now, if I have to write the filling of the electrons in particular orbitals, 1s2, so this is 1s, okay, and then I have 2s, then I have 2p. So 2p has 3 orbitals, 1, 2, 3. So this is 2px, 2py and 2pz. Now, how many electrons are present in 1s? There are 2 electrons. So you fill 1 and then 2. In 2s, how many electrons are present? 2 itself. So 1 and then 2. In 2p, there are 3 electrons. So 3 can be filled for each of the orbitals. So 2px1, 2py1 and 2pz1. So here you see that the p orbital is actually half filled and these are said to be stable. The energy of these orbitals are said to be very stable. That is why that is half filled orbitals. Now if you take the example of copper, copper is 29. So you write the electronic configuration as argon, which is 18. Okay, first you can fill noble gases as I told you. So here it comes 18 and then 3d and 4s. So 4s will be here 29. So this will be 10 and then this will be 1. Okay. So here as you can see 3d 10 is to be filled. So if I have to write 3d orbital which contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3d 10 has to be filled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then you come back 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is filled over here, fully filled. So these orbitals are also said to be stable. The energies of these orbitals are said to be stable. Now why are these stable? There are 2 reasons for this. One is symmetry. You know that in the nature, if anything has symmetry, then it is said to be stable. Okay. So mainly due to the filling of electrons, if there is symmetry in filling of electrons, symmetry in the sense if they are uniform and same, then you say that they are said to be stable. That is one reason. And then the second one, you have exchange energy. Now what do you mean by this exchange energy? Let me take some example for you. Let me take 2d orbitals. Okay. Now, if you would have taken 3d 4 and here it is 3d 5. Let me explain this. Okay. Now 3d 4 in the sense how will you fill electrons? 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct? Here it will be 3d 5. Half filled. Let me compare and see and tell you and why is this said to be more stable than the other one. Okay. Now 3d 4 in the sense here this first electron which is present in the first orbital can keep on changing its position, right? Right. So this can come to this orbital, to this orbital, this orbital, this orbital or anything. Now this one electron has how many ways? It can come here, 2, 3. Correct? And this orbital has how many ways? 1, 2. Then this orbital has only 1 way. Correct? So here it was like 3 plus 2 plus 1. So how many ways? Totally 1, 3 plus 2, 5, 6 ways are possible for this electrons or the electrons present in these orbitals so that they can exchange their positions. So when they change their positions, there is some energy which is released and that is exchange energy, right? Correct? So when they try changing their positions, these electrons when they try changing their positions, there is some release in energy and that is exchange energy. So how many ways are possible here? 6 ways are possible. If you check out this 3d5 subshell, okay, so here this electron can move here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 ways are possible. This 3 ways, this 2 ways, this 1 way. So 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. So how many ways here? 4 plus 3, 7, 9, 10 ways are possible. You see here? Right? So that they can change their position. So there is high exchange energy in the half filled orbital when you compare it to this one. Right? So there is more exchange energy. As the exchange energy increases, the stability is said to be high. So if the exchange energy is more, then this is said to be highly stable, and that's why we say that the half-filled and the fully filled orbitals are more stable when compared to the other ones. Okay, so which are the two reasons? One is due to the symmetry and the other one is exchange in their energy. Okay, so this is about the half-filled and fully filled orbitals. Another example you have, the chromium. Chromium is written as Cr, correct? So chromium has the atomic number 25. So here how you write? First comes argon, then it is 3d, argon, 3d5, 4s, 1. Okay, so this is how. Actually this should be written 3d4, 4s2. Okay, but as they can attain stability while writing the filling up of electrons in the particular orbitals, we prefer writing the electronic configuration in this way rather than the other one. So if it is 3d5, then it is said to be half filled, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 electrons are filled, and then in 4s how many? 1 electron. So this is how you show the filling up of orbitals. Or if they ask you to write the electronic configuration, 3d5, 4s1 with argon. Okay, so this is also one of the half-filled electronic configuration, and then you have the example of copper. So they may ask you why copper, the energy is said to be stable because of its fully filled electronic configuration, and then chromium is half-filled, nitrogen again P subshell is half-filled. So that is one of the account for the stability. Let us write few of the electronic configurations now. Carbon, how do you write? It is written as 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 2, and the atomic number is 6. So how do you write the orbital filling? First will be 1s2, then comes 2s2. 2p6 is there. How many orbitals in p? 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then 6. Carbon should be 6. So 2p, 2, right? So 2p, 2 over here. 1, 2. So this is how you write the filling of orbitals for carbon. For example, scandium. Scandium is a transition element which comes in D block. The atomic number is 21. So whenever it comes to D block, you start from argon. Then 3d will be 1, 4s will be 2. Okay. So 4s should be first filled. Okay, 4s2 and then 3d1. So here as 21 is at 1. Then if you have to write 26 would be there, then 3d6 it will be. So in that way you write the electronic configuration. So this was all about the filling of electrons in the orbitals and the stability, which is a comparison of half-filled and fully filled orbitals, which accounts for the stability of an atom based on the two reasons. One is symmetry as well as the exchange energy. And this is the energy level diagram which is to be remembered. So electronic configurations can be asked from this chapter too. Okay, and how to fill up the orbitals can be asked, and the 3 rules to be remembered, children. So this was all about the structure of atom. Okay, starting from the Thomson's model, then each and every development till the quantum mechanical model, which gives us the shapes of the orbitals and also the electrons which are to be filled inside the orbitals of an atom. So here we come to the end of this chapter. So we will move on with the next chapter in the next class. So see you all children. Thank you.